Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about the liberals in the United States of America and how they're now kowtowing to the minorities hardcore. We've already seen this happening throughout the country over the last week or so in all these riots and demonstrations and protests that spawned out of a bad event and a terrible death that happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, everyone is on board with that event being bad. We arrested the perpetrators. They're going to get tried and put into jail or whatever it may be. So we're all on board with the justice that needs to be had for that. Besides that, though, things have been going a little far in the other direction. You see, first there was a few demonstrations that went wrong. Then things turned into all-out chaos. People were breaking into stores, doing this or that. This race baiting is getting out of control. Race baiting is a big part of this, and it's really why the whole fallout has been happening, even though, despite the fact that there was no racial evidence proven in the original case. There was no racism found. There was no proof of it. There was no evidence of anyone saying anything racist, doing anything based on race. It was just a bad arrest and a brutal cop who did something very wrong. And regardless of that, the liberals have turned it into this whole thing. Now we're talking about race all the time. It's a black versus white thing. And that brings us to today's news story. You see, a number of prominent Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they've been kind of bowing down to minorities, trying to show them that they're woke and that they're down with these SJW, BLM, alphabet letter causes. You know, them doing that is pretty typical. It's pretty expected. But the way they've been doing it this week and what happened yesterday, we just can't not talk about. First of all, they took a knee, which turned into this embarrassing situation where some Democrats couldn't kneel literally because they're just so bad and out of shape. Others tried to kneel and they couldn't get back up. And in addition to that, they are all culturally appropriating along the way. They are wearing something from an African nation that would be called racist if any of us did it. So we're going to talk about all this today soon, get into the details, show you some pictures and video. It's going to be a lot of fun. But first, let's take a quick moment to check out our sponsor. Guys, did you know that after age 20, people produce 12% less collagen in their skin each decade? And for some, it can be an even greater decline. And collagen, of course, is a really healthy, really good aspect to your life. So getting it into your system is more important now than ever, especially with these other health scares going on in the nation. That's why I suggest you get this top-graded, amazing collagen product from healthwithnobs.com. Brought to you by BioTrust, you can now get up to 50% off while supplies last. This collagen is perfect and it's a high quality protein source that you just need to add water to. You guys better check it out today and make sure you have a great day and stay healthy and safe. Great, and remember, buying collagen at healthwithnobs.com greatly helps this channel and it will also help you guys and your family stay healthy and safe. Now, on to the story. First, we're going to start off by checking out this picture that I think sums things up pretty well. It says, imagine being shown this photo in 2019 with no explanation. And then we've got Pelosi and Schumer and a number of other Dems making these weird poses and faces, and they're wearing masks, and they're also wearing these African scarves. And this is the part where we're like, what is going on? Like, where are we? We're in some kind of bizarro world. I mean, this picture already says 1,000 words right out the gate. Yeah, imagine if it was 2019. Like, you wouldn't even believe this was all going on. This sounds outrageous, but it's just crazy. It's election year craziness. Everything is on high alert. Things are just going this and that, fast, fast, fast. Lots of news cycle, this and that. That's why we've been trying to do more videos here and keep up with it and give you guys quicker videos. And I hope you're enjoying this extra content because I know I'm having fun covering more stuff. And it's nice to get into these politics and this news stories more like this. So this is a thing that, like I said, this is cultural appropriation. I mean, this is exactly what the leftists attack us for all the time. This is what we talk about every Halloween. They say you can't wear this costume, you can't dress up like this gender or race. You know, you have to stay in your lane, basically, according to leftists. And really, that's the proof, and this is the proof that they're not really about cultural appropriation. Like, they're not about being respectful to all cultures, which is kind of where that phrase is supposed to come from. But really what they're doing is when a liberal calls you out for cultural appropriation, it's just their way of attacking you. It's a way of attacking white people. But specifically, and what's proven by this example in this picture, is that's just a way for them to attack white people they don't like, not Democrats, basically. Liberals are okay. These guys can do this. These guys can wear these scarves and look absolutely ridiculous, like wearing something from Africa, looking really, really I don't know, just it's just so off-putting. I know they have some black people supporting them, and I'm sure they're happy for the attention, but man, this is a bad look and just so hypocritical. And another classic example of it's okay when liberals do it. We talk about that phrase a lot here. We have a number of videos about it, and this is just the perfect example. Cultural appropriation is okay if you're a liberal, if you're on their side, and that's where we're at. And then there's the mask thing. And I mean, the mask is just another virtue signal. First, they're virtue signaling with the scarf to show that they're down with the minorities and the black people. And then the mask is just trying to show that they're still being careful. They're still worried about the virus. They're pretending to be worried about this coof, about this health epidemic. But we've seen them already act otherwise. We've seen them support all these protesters and demonstrators and these large gatherings all across the country happening in Los Angeles yesterday, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia. They're not only supporting that and showing these large gatherings with, thousands of people in the street, shoulder to shoulder, but on top of that, they're telling people to do it. They're saying, go out, protest, support these causes. And that's another part of the hypocrisy here, and the part of this thing about with the mask that's just showing that they're not always as honest and straightforward as you think, and they're clearly not as woke as they want to pretend to be. The next example comes from Benny on Twitter. It says, how is this pandering Democrats draping themselves in kente cloth not defined as cultural appropriation by every single standard of the modern left? Yeah, this is the greater point and the strongest point. The mask is kind of a sub point. But yeah, this is just everything the left would say is racist about us, but they can do it. And they can put these scarves on and look ridiculous. And it's just unnecessary. I mean, it's just strange. And it goes to show how bold and out of touch they are. Like, they really don't care. They will call you out for something and then do it the same day. And that's what's really frustrating too. So there's a video on this. Let's check out the video.
Kneel for our moment of silence.
Real heartfelt here. Oh, you're kneeling. And then this is the part that gets interesting. If you look on the right there, you'll notice someone is not kneeling. Okay, well, not really a big fan of kneeling anyway. In fact, I've talked about before how it's really bad optics to kneel in this situation, since the initial incident was caused by a kneeling that ended up killing someone. So kneeling now in that same way is kind of weird. It's kind of like, are you guys tone deaf or what? Do you not notice? It's so obvious that they're kneeling and then the kneeling happened. It's just a really bad look. And then, yeah, let's get back to this one guy. How come he's not kneeling? Well, obviously it's probably some kind of health thing. He's a little old. He's a little frail. This is Jerry Nadler. He's been in politics for so long too. Like, these Democrats have been in office for decades. Like Nancy Pelosi, 40 years. Chuck Schumer, many decades. Jerry Nadler, many decades. Like, these guys have been in power forever. And that's another problem with these guys. I'll get back to him not kneeling in a second, but first of all, them being in power for so long, it shows that they're not effective leaders. They're not making things better. They're complaining about things that they should have fixed many years ago. This is day one stuff, and they still can't handle it. They're just career politicians. They're not in it to help people, to fix things. They're in it to gain themselves. They're in it to give themselves wealth and power and clout. I mean, Nancy Pelosi has been a politician for 40 years, and somehow she became a multimillionaire. And Chuck Schumer lives in New York City. He's got lots of money. These guys gain wealth through politics. That's their main goal, is to get into politics, to make money, to keep themselves into power. It has nothing to do with helping people or saving the country or fixing things. They pretend to care here, but this is all a virtue signal. This is all an act. And back to the kneeling thing. I mean, Jerry Nadler is not kneeling. Is kneeling really that important then? I mean, I understand he has a health thing. I'm not trying to make him kneel or anyone kneel, but they act like it's so heroic and they're saving the world, but we're just not seeing that. It's not matching up in the real life. And then the next thing is, these guys are just really old and frail and just totally I don't know, they're not capable for this. They're not ready. We need young, more vibrant people. I mean, not too young. AOC is a little too young a lot of times, and she's also too dumb. But this is the point: is they have a lot of weak, longtime Democrats who can barely stand or kneel. We're going to see later that one of these guys could barely stand up from this kneel. And then also, it's just the bowing down to the other race. It's just really, really cringy. It's really like typical current year stuff. Like they're bowing down to black people, basically. And this isn't the only case of that. This has been happening across the country in a lot of ways. Like, for example, there was that one viral video where some minority guy runs up to a white chick in a mask and she immediately gets on her knees and then starts like apologizing to him. And it was like really, really bad. And then another one I could think of, I'm not sure I have the picture here, but there was another event where a bunch of white people were on the ground washing the feet of black people. Like, what is going on, dear? Like, I get you have white guilt. I get that you think there's all this racism, but going the other way around and like worshiping black people and acting like white people are lesser and worse, I mean, that's just reversing the racism. It's not fixing anything. Looks like they're saying a little prayer. I don't know how long they have to meet. There's Pelosi, king of the virtue signalers and the cultural appropriators. There's Chuck Schumer, Amy Schumer's relative. Coincidence that they're both terrible? I think not. I think not. And yeah, there's not actually the best part here. So that's just the beginning. We saw them kneel. We saw the photo op. They cut them off to make them look better, even though this video still has 3 million views. So this video is already crunching. But here's the best part. And again, it's a little sad. Like, I don't want to see this like struggle from an old lady, but it's hard to feel sorry for her. So they also put the voice in from one of those commercials. I fall and I can't get up is like an old infomercial you used to see at night, and you press one of those life alert buttons and it would save you if you fall. This is Nancy. Yeah, she couldn't get up. Jerry Nadler couldn't even kneel, and then Nancy kneeled but couldn't get up. And they're just a bunch of old, decrepit, white liberals being these kinds of panderers to the minorities. They're trying to pander to them, and it makes me think of something different, actually, because we know more about them. We know who they really are. And first of all, we know they're hypocrites, and we know, like they said, they're not really caring about the virus. They put the masks on, but then they tell people to protest. And then on top of that, they're culturally appropriating with the African garb. And on top of that, they're just old and frail and out of touch. And they also have this bigotry of low expectations. They're treating these minorities like children, and it's not really as complimentary as they think. I mean, yeah, it's nice to treat a kid nicer and go easy on them, but most adults want to be treated like equals. Like, they don't want to be like pandered to like a kid. Like, because when you do that to a kid, it kind of implies they're weaker and lesser and not as grown up as you. Like, that's why you can't, like, kids are specially protected by the law. You know, you can't hurt a kid as much. You know, there's stuff like that, and that's for a reason, and that's because kids aren't grown up. And if you treat a whole race like they're kids and they're not grown-ups, I mean, that makes you racist. That makes you having a bigotry because you have low expectations for them. You're treating them like kids or like your pet or like you're, they're disabled or something. I don't think this is true. That's why I'm saying that. I don't agree with this at all. I think black people, brown people, Asian people, everyone, we're all equals. We're all human beings. There's differences between us for sure. We're not the same. But we are all adults, we are all on the same in a lot of ways. So I don't believe in like giving them special treatment or taking the knee for a certain race, for problems that we didn't cause, for problems that didn't even affect the people you're kneeling for. I mean, there is a real case here. Like we mentioned in the beginning, there was someone that died in Minneapolis, and everyone that wants to demonstrate for that and say, hey, let's have a peaceful protest. Let's go to the funeral and celebrate his life, give an honorable kind of going away. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But anything further than that is getting warped and turned into something else. Like we talked about with the race baiting, like the race wasn't even an issue. This wasn't a race issue at all until the media and the Democrats and the celebrities turned it into one. And then it spun out of control. And now we're at where we are now. We're like a week and a half later and almost 2 weeks later. And this is the craziness we're seeing. We're seeing Democrats literally bowing down to the leftists, to the minorities. And it's given us some great content. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw today. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Tell me what you think about the left, their double standards, and their idea that they can do whatever they want, even when they tell us not to do it. Also, hit the like button to get this video shared and help us get some more support. And until next time, you guys have a great day.